The purpose of this video will be to describe a bear spread model. And a bear spread model is an option strategy that locks in a certain payoff if the stock price goes down by a given amount. And so with a bear spread strategy, what we're going to do is sell a call option and then buy a call option with a higher strike price. So this model that's shown here has a call option already priced, and that's at $150 strike price, and also a put option, but we're going to use the call option. And so we'll construct this bear spread with the 150 strike price call option on Walmart that expires on January 21st, 2022. So we're going to rename that K1 because that's the strike priced on the first option, and then we'll name this call option payoff 1. Now what we need to do is buy a call option with a higher strike price, call that K2. And we could pick anything that's higher, but we'll go ahead and pick 160 as the strike price for the second call option. So we need to build the call option payoff for option 2. So it'll be the maximum of 0 or the ending stock price minus the second strike price. And then we'll go ahead and apply the discount factor, which is the exponential function, and then negative t, which is the time to expiration, times the risk-free rate. In this model, the ending stock price is also already defined as an output, but if you don't have that defined as an output, you may want to define that as an output. It's going to help a lot with the graph that we decide to construct. So there's our second call option payoff. And then we'll develop the bear spread payoff. Okay, in the first part of the bear spread payoff, we are selling this call option with the lower strike price. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and look up the market price of this option. I've got a sheet with these options here, and the strike price, the option with the strike price of 150 has a price of 610. The option with the strike price of 160 has a current price of 275. So since we're selling the first call option, we're going to receive the price, and we're going to pay out the payoff. In this case, I'm going to use a market price for the first call option and a market price for the second call option. We would either want to use market prices for both or simulated prices for both. Then we'll buy a call option with a higher strike price. So when we buy a call option, we're going to receive the payoff and pay out the price. So that's how we'll construct our bear spread payoff. We'll make this an output in at risk. Okay, so we're ready to go ahead and run the simulation for this bear spread payoff. I'm going to go ahead and run 10,000 trials to get a good estimate. Okay, so we see in the window here, here is the output window for the bear spread payoff. And what we see is that about 10% of the time, we end up with a loss of somewhere in the range of -$7. And about 50% of the time, we end up with a payoff of about $3.35. Now, the thing we notice about the $3.35 is that it's basically the difference between the two market prices of the options. Now, what would really be interesting to understand is how these payoffs are related to ultimately the ending stock price. So that's what we're going to graph. We also see that on average, this bear spread payoff is essentially zero. What we're really trying to do is lock in a payoff when we believe the stock price is going to move one direction or the other. And with the bear spread, we're really making a bet that the stock price decreases. We'll see that with a graph. So to create this graph, we're going to go to Explore and then Data. And what we see here is the different outputs that are defined in this model, as well as the one input. And so this data shows all 10,000 trials in the simulation, and we're going to export this with the blue arrow at the bottom right and export to Excel. We'll do a new worksheet in the active workbook. So we can close this at-risk window. And now we've got a new sheet with the data. So in column C, we've got the ending stock price. In column F, we've got the bear spread payoff. For now, those are the two things we're interested in, so I'm going to eliminate columns D and E. And then what we're going to do with these two columns is sort these by the ending stock price. So if I do Shift, Control, down arrow, it'll go down and highlight all the data. And then we can sort this by the ending stock price from lowest to highest. And that's sorting by column C. We could rearrange the headers also if we wanted to. Okay, so now our data is sorted smallest to largest by ending stock price. And we're going to insert an XY scatter chart with the ending stock price on the horizontal axis and the bear spread payoff on the vertical axis. And these two columns of data are already highlighted. So we go to Insert and then the XY scatter. And I would like to go ahead and I would want to use the scatter with the smooth lines, or possibly the straight lines. So here's our chart. Here's the bear spread payoff. And what we see here is that if the stock price on January 21st is below 150, then we're going to earn the $3.35 payoff. That's the difference between the prices of the options. If the stock price goes above 160, the strike price of the second option, then we're going to lock in a loss that looks like somewhere between $6 and $7. We can see the actual amount if we scroll down here. In between there's a range where we also have a positive payoff if the stock price goes above 150, but only to a certain level. And then we would end up incurring a loss. So we're really betting on the stock price to go down here and locking in a payoff here, but limiting the loss if the stock goes up. Now, we can change the shape of this by using different options with different strike prices and change the shape of this bear spread payoff. We could potentially make it cheaper if we used an option that had a high strike price out here. So that is the bear spread stock option strategy.